everyone, it's Jessica Dybzinski. Thanks for coming by today. So I have been playing with the Close to My Heart July stamp of the month. It is called Voices of the Sea, and it's really pretty and has all of these really cool images on it, as well as some good sentiments. And I finally made myself sit down and start playing with it because at first I was a little intimidated by the detailed images, and I thought, how am I going to color those? So let me show you here. This is the July, August, and September catalog, and if you flip to the back, you can see where the stamps of the month are. And in the catalog, they just have these beautiful colored images, and I thought, I don't know if I can do that, but I sat down and played, and I came up with these two cards, and it was actually a whole lot easier than I thought it was going to be. So I want to share those cards with you today. Now, I have pulled for this first card some papers from the new Backyard Bliss paper collection, which is out of that catalog I just showed you. And I love that wood plank paper and then this fun papaya pattern paper. This one is cut to 2 1/4 inches by 5 1/2, and then this one is just a regular card front, so 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And those are going to go on there like so. And then I am using the lighter side of a piece of rosemary cardstock, and then that is just 3 1/2 inches, and it is going to mat my 3-inch piece of white daisy cardstock square here. Okay, so those are the pieces. I've already edge distressed the other ones, but I do still need to do this rosemary cardstock. So I always like to grab my coordinating ink color and then just swipe it across the edge of the paper. Sometimes I do grab like a foam tool or something, but most of the time I just do direct ink pad to paper just to give it a little bit of a finishing touch. Okay, so I think for this one, I want to use that cute little seagull picture on there, and I'm going to put that foam piece that comes with the stamp set underneath my paper because that's going to help me get a good crisp image. And I am using intense black ink, since I do plan to color this image with my tri-blend markers. So always use intense black ink anytime you're planning to add any sort of coloring medium to your stamped image. Now I've used it already before, but I did season it again by just rubbing it across my hand, and then I will ink it up, and I'm going to put it down in the bottom left corner. And the reason that I placed it that way on my white square here is because if you look at this bird, there's kind of an angle from his head down to his tail feathers, and so I'm basically kind of creating that diagonal across my square and leaving myself some room in that top corner for the sentiments. That's why I placed him over to that side. And then I'm using my damp stamp chamois just to clean off my stamp, and there we go. Okay, so I wanted to stamp that first so it had some time to really dry on my paper. While I've got my stamp out, I'm going to go ahead and add the sentiment as well. So there's this one on here that says sending good vibes, and I'm going to ink that up in papaya ink. Sending good vibes your way, sorry. I'm going to use papaya ink just for a pop of color, and also that is the same color as that pinkish colored pattern paper that is going to be on the card front. Okay, so let's go ahead and start assembling some of this just to give that stamped seagull a little bit of time to really have that ink dry on the paper. So this piece here is going to come 1 inch up from the bottom of the card front, and I love using my Versamat and my T-square ruler just to keep everything straight because I'm pretty sure otherwise everything that I make would probably be a little crooked, so that's very helpful. And then, I don't know, I felt like using some of this hemp that I had in my stash. I've had this forever. I almost never use it, and there was just something about the look of it that spoke to me with this card, and I don't know, something just kind of seemed to be nautical to me. So whenever I do use it though, I like to break the fibers down a little bit to make it a little bit more flexible. So that's what I'm doing doing here is just kind of playing with it and bending it to make it so that it's not quite so stiff. And then I have run it across the bottom piece there, or the bottom of that piece, and taped it to the back side of my card. And then now I am ready to start coloring in the seagull. Now I found out of all of the images that I played with on the stamp set that he was the easiest one to color in. So I am going to be using, let's see, Earth Brown Blend and Brown Gray Blend and Gold Yellow Blend. So I'm going to start with that gold yellow and color in his feet and his beak, and I use the middle shade for that. And then for the trunk, or the little piling that he is standing on, I'm using the Earth Brown marker, tri-blend marker. The cool thing about these markers is that they have 3 shades for the same color. So there's a dark, middle, and light part to the marker. So I used the middle part to go around the outer edges of that wooden piece, the wooden piling. And then it's really nice because the stamped image actually gives a lot of guidance as to where you should color things or add some darker shading or things like that. So basically I just went over the little black marks on the stamp with my darker shade of the marker, or the middle shade. And then I'm going over all of it with the lightest shade. So really I just used the 2 shades there, and you can see that, I don't know, I think it looks pretty good. And it was very simple to do. So I repeated that process on the other piece, and now I'm ready to color in the seagull himself. So on the brown gray blend of the marker, I am using the lightest end of this color, and same thing, the stamped image just really kind of told me where to put some color down. I didn't color all of the bird in because seagulls are white, but I just went around his feathers and then a little bit around his face, and anywhere I saw those black lines from my stamped image, I just went over them in the marker. And like I said, when I first started playing with the stamp set, I was really intimidated about the coloring of it. But I found it so much easier to use than I thought it would be. So I hope if you kind of looked at that and felt the same way, that you feel really reassured that it's actually a lot of fun to color in and pretty simple to do. All right, I have backed this piece with some foam tapes because I wanted it to sit up from that hemp. I thought if I tried to glue it flat to my card front, then it would have that like bump behind where that's running behind that square. So I popped it up on some foam tape, and then it still needs a little something, a little bling, a little something extra. So I grabbed my loose gold sequins, and obviously there are gold ones in there, but there are also a lot of clear, and then there are some really pretty like iridescent sequins. So I'm going to use this as my pickup tool from Close to My Heart. I love it. It's got a wax tip, and it makes it really simple to grab these little tiny things that are sometimes hard to get a hold of. And I'm just sorting through my sequins until I see one of those iridescent ones. They have almost like a pinkish color to them, and so it works really well with that pattern paper on there, and then the sentiment in that papaya color. And I'm just going to pick out 3 in various sizes, and I'm going to put them in a triangle formation on that square. Put down a little dab of Tombow liquid glue, and then stick that sequin right back down over top of it. There, once that 3rd sequin is on, this card is done. I really like it. I hope that you guys like it too. Okay, let's move on to that cute little turtle card, and you can see I've already made it once before, so let's recreate it again. I've already stamped the turtle on a piece of white daisy cardstock that measures 2 1/4 by 2 3/4 inches. And then I have a couple other pieces here. The sapphire piece is 2 1/2 by 5 1/2, and that's just a piece out of the current mix-in collection from Close to My Heart. And then I've got a 1-inch strip of that same wood paper that I used on the first card. Now, this pattern that I'm following from the Make It From Your Heart Volume 4 book, it does call for the mat behind that white piece to be in 2 different pieces of paper. So I'm just using rosemary like I did on my previous card, and I'm using the darker side of the cardstock for the bottom piece, and then the lighter shade of the color on the top piece. So that way I just had to cut it once and really just kind of flip the pieces around. That's one of my favorite things about Close to My Heart's cardstock, is that it's 2-tone. Lighter shade on one side and darker on the other. It's pretty subtle, but it does look really cute in person. Okay, now I am ready to color in this turtle. He was a little bit more complicated than the seagull, but actually not that much so. But the seagull was really fast because it was just a little bit of the feathers, but obviously the turtle, it has a little bit more to his scene. But still, I was very pleased to find that it was easy to color in. That was one of the things I was worried about when I first started playing with the stamp set, but it was easy to do. So I'm starting with that dull green marker and the darkest end of the marker. And I'm going around like by his belly and a couple other places. Again, I let the stamp set tell me where I should put my shading, and I found that made it really easy. So wherever I saw a lot of the black lines in the stamped image, that's where I put the darkest shade of my marker. Later, I'm going to go in with my middle shade of the marker, and I'm going to outline, I don't even know what the word, there's probably a word for it. You know, the little blocks on the back of a turtle shell, the parts that kind of separate it. I don't know what the word is for that. But I just kind of outlined all of them in the middle shade of the marker, and then added again wherever I saw some of those, a lot of the black lines in the stamped image, kind of added a little bit more shading with the middle color. And then I went over the entire turtle with the lightest end of my marker, and I was able to color him in about 1 minute. And I thought that he turned out very nicely. So again, if this was a stamp set that you looked at and you were like, I don't know about coloring that, I was right there with you, but I was so happy once I started playing with it, how easy it was to do. Now, I'm not going to color this entire image on camera because I think that you and I would probably both get a little bored watching that. So let me just tell you, I used for the coral, no surprise here, I used the coral color marker. And then I used, what did I have here? I had the tan blend for the rock, and then I did a different color green for the seaweed. It was just the citrus green blend. And again, same thing, wherever I saw that there was a lot of the blackness from the stamped image, that's where I used the darkest end of my marker. And then when I went over the lightest shade with the rest of it. So here you can see the finished product. Oh, I did add a little touch of blue, true blue, to the bubbles as well. Okay, now on my original card, I did a little bit of hand stitching in that papaya color, but I didn't want to do that again because it took a little bit of time. So I'm just going to wrap some embroidery thread instead. But because these are two different pieces and I don't want that thread to show on the inside of my card, I need to do something to kind of hold them together. So I just put a scratch piece of paper behind. That way I can keep those two pieces of pattern paper stuck together while I wrap the thread around them. And I'm using all six strands, of this DMC thread. And then I will loop it twice around my card front. And I thought that was a really fast, easy alternative to doing that hand stitching. And I think actually I like it better than the stitching that I did. So there you go. Okay, and then all of that is going to come 1/4 inch up from the bottom of the card front. And then again, kind of like I did in the previous card, I added some foam tape behind my image. And then that is going to go there. And then that line where the two different mats meet, that's going to line up with the difference between that 1 inch piece and the 2.5 inch piece. So you can see there, I finished it off with the sequins as well. Same thing that I did before. Now I've got room for a little sentiment. My first card I stamped hello, but I do actually need a thank you card for my mother-in-law. So for this one, I'm going to grab this cute little scripted thanks sentiment off the stamp set. I probably should have stamped it first, but I forgot. But it ends up stamping just fine, even though I've already got it mounted on my foam tape. And then once that sentiment is on there, this card is complete as well. So I'll show you a couple of still shots here in a second so that you can see the completed card. Again, it was pretty easy to do. I was happy with the coloring, and I hope that you give it a try as well. All right, one last final little touch before I am done with this project. I grabbed my envelopes and then the cute little starfish stamp that was on the set, and I stamped a couple of starfish onto my envelopes in the corner. I like to do a little something that matches with the card on the inside. So you can see the close-ups here. I hope you guys feel inspired to play with the stamp of the month. Don't forget that it is available only during the month of July, and I will leave some links down below to everything that I used. No matter what, I hope that you guys enjoyed watching and that you are having a lovely day. All right, happy crafting. Bye.